Let's get it, baby. What's going on? What's going on? The man professor's in the house. Yeah. Ha. 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 Not guilty. Not guilty. Not guilty. Ah. Ah. Not guilty, baby. Woo. What's going on? What's going on? Ah. Take that. Take that. Take that. Take that. Take that. Take, take, take that. Ah. Oh. Ah. You know what time it is, brothers? Y'all know what time it is? We got to talk tonight. Yeah, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Woo! Y'all can't hear it now. You guys can't hear it, man. I'm listening to old school G-Dep. Let's get it. Let's get it, brothers. Let's get it. Let's get it. Take this money. Make this money. Take this money. Let's get it. You know what time it is, brothers. You know what time it is. I don't want a copyright strike. I don't want a copyright strike. I can't play what I want to play. I can't play what I want to play. What's happening? The man professor is up in here. The man professor is up in here. What's going on? Ron Matthews, what's going on, my brother? I got my brothers in the house. What's going on? Not guilty. Not guilty. I'm doing this thing acapella style, baby. What's going on, Toxic Masculinist? What's going on, Excalibur? What's going on? What's going on, Coach Lamont? We doing the doggone thing. That's the party, brothers. It's the after party, guys. This is the after party, baby. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? The man professor G-Bar, what's going on? Flaw 2001, what's going on? What's going on? Coach Lamont, what's going on? What's going on? Solo Dolo, what's going on, my brother? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see you, man. We up in here tonight. We up in here tonight. We up in here on a Wednesday night. This is the after party. This is the not guilty celebration. That's doggone right. You know what I'm talking about. That's right. BMI, Black Men's Independence. BMA, Black Men's Agency. BME, Black Men's Empowerment. BMH, Black Men's Happiness. You doggone right, man. Depend. Good to see you in the house, my brother. You know I had to come out here, guys. You guys know I had to come out here and talk about this doggone it. We had to come out here, man. Not guilty. Free black men. Free black men. Free black men. Stand your ground, brothers. I need you, brothers. You black men, I need y'all to stand y'all ground. We're having a celebration tonight, brothers. We're having a celebration tonight. This is not just a win for Travis Rudolph. No. This is bigger than Travis Rudolph, brothers. This is bigger than Travis Rudolph. This is about us. This is about me. This is about you. This is about the Black Male Collective. That's what it's about. This is about all of us. Thank you, Brandon Penn. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Y'all get them likes up. Y'all get them likes up. Y'all share. Y'all subscribe. Y'all like. Y'all do everything. The man professor is up in the house. You doggone right. You doggone right. Baby. Very little, what's going on, brother? Very little, what's going on? We doing this thing tonight. You know what I'm saying? We making this thing happen tonight. The man professor is in the house. Get them likes up. Get them likes up. Get them likes up. Get them likes up. Y'all share. Y'all subscribe. The Mad Professor is up in here. We are talking about the not guilty verdict of Travis Rudolph. That's doggone right. And you're right, Barry Little. As Ice Cube would say, today is a good day. Today is a good day. That's doggone right. That's doggone right. That's doggone right. He got his names in lights on the Goodyear blimp. His names are in lights on the Goodyear blimp. That's right, baby. We doing the doggone thing tonight. We doing. You need to stand your ground. Stand your doggone ground. We stand on ground this tonight, tomorrow. That's right, this weekend, next week, next month, next year, the next 10 years, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2028, 2030, 2035, 2050. We are standing our ground, black men. That's what we're doing. Y'all shout out to the Mad Professor. The Mad Professor is up in here tonight. You know I'm excited. You know we're going to talk about this thing tonight. I got it. Y'all hit that cash app. $sign BMI 3000, $sign 3 of my BMI 3000, $sign 3 BMI 3000, $sign BMI 3000, $sign BMI 3000. The Mad Professor is up in the house. Justice has been served. Justice has been served. Woo! We doing it. We doing it, y'all. Man, y'all got y'all bubbly. I hope y'all got y'all little drink. I got my syrup. I got my scissor right here. I got my scissor. Y'all see the scissor? I got my scissor. I got my scissor right here, brothers. That's right. This is the after party. This is the after party. Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the Travis Rudolph after party. A black man has gotten a W. A black man has gotten a win in the court of law. And we're going to celebrate the night. We're going to celebrate the night. It was a good day. It was an L for the Simps. It was an L for the Simps. You're doggone right, Coach Lamont. You're doggone right. It was an L for the Simps. The Simps done lost tonight. All the dangerous, all the toxic, all the mind dead and brainless Simps done took an L tonight. All of them took an L. But not only have the brainless Simps taken the L tonight, but Keisha took an L. Keisha. Keisha done took an L. Keisha has taken the L tonight. Boy, I'm gonna tell you, boy. I'm gonna tell you, Dominique Jones. She's done. Dominique Jones. Any black man in America, any black man who has the audacity, to take this woman into his fold, to incorporate this woman into his life, this Keisha, any black man who has the audacity to bring this Keisha into his personal space, this black man deserves everything that is coming to him. Any black man. And you got to be a fool. You got to be deranged. You have to be insane. You got to be off your rock, or something got to be wrong with you as a black man. If you, after this case right here, come 10, 15, 20 feet in proximity to this Keisha right here, Any black man, any black man, you got to be out your mind. You got to be out your mind. You deserve everything that you get. if this case right here, if this case right here doesn't teach you about not dealing with Keisha, if this case right here that has not explained to you, if it has not taught to you the perils and the dangers of dealing with these Keishas, my brother, I don't know what to say to you. You deserve everything that comes your way. Every doggone thing. Every doggone thing. Get them likes up. Get them likes up. What's going on, Eddie and Thomas? We are talking tonight. We talking tonight. A black man was exonerated. He was exonerated, and he didn't even have stand your ground law on his side. He was exonerated. Exonerated. Did not have stand your ground on his ground, on his side. And I told y'all in my last video. Man, I'm gonna get into this thing, man. I told y'all on my last video, I said that jury needs to do the right thing. I said that jury needs to do the right thing. And I said that the jury, if the jury wants to, I said this, if the jury wants to, that jury can do the right thing by rendering a not guilty verdict in all the charges that were leveled against him. If that jury wants to do the right thing, I don't care what their prosecutor said. I don't care what the doggone judge outlined or whatever. All them frivolous charges, all them jacked up charges that they had against this man. All the jury has to do when it comes down to signing, to putting up their signatures and filling out the verdict. All they have to do is write down not guilty. That's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. They heard all the testimony. They listened to Travis Rudolph, and I'm gonna tell you, boy, that brother was immaculate. That brother was exceptional. That brother was off the chain. That brother was poised. That brother was authentic. He was completely 100% real and honest. He told the truth as he experienced it, as he saw it in everything. They saw it. They saw it right there. And all they had to do was sign that form. All they had to do was sign that form and tell those prosecutors. They basically told the prosecutor in the state of Florida, in that particular county, they told that prosecutor that you were wrong. You were wrong for charging this man with all those charges. Charging him with manslaughter, charging him with reckless endangerment, charging him with discharge, charging a firearm unlawfully, all that kind of stuff. All they had to do was write down not guilty. That's all they had to do. And those jurors, they don't have to explain it. The judge said you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to talk to no reporters. You don't have to talk to the media. You don't have to explain any doggone thing. Once you put that not guilty verdict down on that form, that is it. You were persuaded by the preponderance. They call this the preponderance of evidence. The attorney, the state attorney, the district attorney, the prosecutors in Florida were unable to prove their case against Travis Rudolph. They were unsuccessful. They were unsuccessful. They were unsuccessful in proving that this man committed a crime. And you and I know, we saw it. It was on Law and Crime. Everybody live streamed that case. Everybody live streamed that case. Hell, even before they live streamed the case, and once we saw the details of that case, we knew that those people had that woman's brother, her brother, and them simps, them dangerous monkey simps, they had absolutely no business. They had absolutely no business walking on that man's property. They had no business whatsoever intimidating him, threatening him. They had absolutely no business being the aggressors towards that man. That man saw his life in jeopardy. He was threatened, and he did what he had to do to defend his doggone life. And I'm going to say what Angry Man said. Angry Man said it. I'm going to say it again, doggone it. This was a case of F around and find out. You F around and find out. F around and find out. You come to my house, you test me, and you try me, and I have the capacity to let you know that you are not going to walk away unscathed. F around and find out. F around and find out. This is the after party. Thank you, Adrian Thomas. Thank you. Angry Man, Media Man, TLA, LAR, Dr. Hassan Johnson, fighting for Travis Rudolph. Your entire family has been quiet. That's it. People are quiet about it. But we talked about the doggone case. We talked about this doggone case. We talked about it because we know that this was an unjust prosecution. It was unjust. It should not have happened. He should have never been charged whatsoever. He should have never been charged. This man done lost 2 years. This man has lost 2 years of his life on house arrest. The man was on house arrest. He was on house arrest. 2 years on house arrest, 2 years dealing with restrictions, not being able to go outside, having to check into an officer, a law enforcement officer, every week, every month, for the past 2 years, trying to fight for his life. This man did not deserve. He did not deserve what was put before him vis-a-vis the state of Florida. He did not deserve it. But this is the after party because you have a jury trial. This is one of the rare instances. We are celebrating, guys. We are celebrating tonight. We are celebrating tonight. This is not just a victory for Travis Rudolph. This is a grand victory for Black men because this case personifies so much of what Black American men deal with, have to contend with in the United States of America. It is what it is. It is what it is. This is a grand case. Welcome to the after party. This is the after party. We are in celebration mode tonight. And I hope after the night, I hope with this case, the state of Florida needs to go back. The state of Florida needs to go back and review Stand Your Ground. They need to go back and review Stand Your Ground. And I hope that the NRA I hope that the National Rifle Association, I hope that the NRA pushes the state of Florida. They need to go back and they need to expand Stand Your Ground. You see, Stand Your Ground should not just be applicable to white men. Stand Your Ground. It should not just be applicable to white men. You see, I'm of the persuasion, and others are of the persuasion, that had Travis Randolph been a white man, had he been a white man under similar circumstances, he would have been able to exercise a stand your ground defense. Had he been a white man, had it been a white man, had he been a white man, had he been a white man, I am of the conviction that had Travis Rudolph been a white man, he would have been allotted a stand your ground defense. And I'm gonna tell you my personal opinion about why I think he was not allotted a stand your ground defense. I think that he was not allotted a stand your ground defense in part because you had a prosecutor who saw this. He saw Travis Rudolph as a lick. He was a lick. And what do I mean by that? That prosecutor saw that case. That prosecutor understood that this was a young black man who was a college standout, all-star football player. He understood that this guy was unique in terms of the circumstances that he was in. And this prosecutor was ambitious, and this prosecutor was deliberate in pushing the boundaries. This prosecutor saw him as a target. He was a target in the same way that Keisha. He was a target in the same way that Keisha saw Travis Rudolph as a target. He was a target. He was a high value target. Let me see if I can make a name for myself. Let me just put it out here like this. Let me see if I can make a name for myself on this young, promising, clean-cut African American man. That's my conviction. This was an overzealous prosecutor. The prosecution went overboard. It went overboard with this case. This was an overzealous prosecutor who wanted to make a name for himself on this football player. That's it. That's it. And they sent this thing to the jury. They sent this thing to the jury. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Stefan Henderson, for that cash app. Stefan Henderson, thank you, my brother, for that cash app. Y'all hit the cash app. Cash app $ BMI 3000. Cash app $ BMI 3000. Cash app $ BMI 3000. Good to see all you brothers up here. Good to see you. Christopher Clipper, good to see you. This is the after party. We are in celebration mode right now, guys. We are in celebration mode right now. Good to see you too, my brother. We are in celebration. We need to talk. Charles Faulkner, I'm down. Whenever you want to talk, Charles Faulkner, man, whenever you want to talk, my brother, we can talk about this thing. We can talk about this thing. There's so many dimensions, so many layers. There's so many things that we have to unpack in this case, man. I'm going to talk about this, man. I want to write about this case. I'm going to tell you, brothers, I want to write about this thing. I ain't going to lie to y'all, man. I want to write about this case right here. I really, really, really do. I really, there's so much that's going on in this case. Boy, look at here. The jury, you see, the jury was not dumb. The jury was not dumb. The jury saw what I saw. The jury saw what you saw. The jury saw what everybody saw. They saw once they put Keisha on that stand, They put Keisha on that stand. And people are going to be talking about this case for the next few weeks, the next month, 2 months, or whatever. They put Keisha on that stand. And they saw how callous Keisha was. They saw how indifferent she is. They saw the distance. They saw the emotional void that was in Keisha. They saw the lack of remorse in Keisha. They saw all of they saw all of that stuff. They saw all of that stuff. And they came to the conclusion, listening to Keisha. Now, Travis Rudolph's, his testimony was immaculate. His testimony was superb. It was superb. It was superb. And I'm gonna tell you something, guys. You know, trial. Here's the thing. I don't know. You know, you guys. I study these type of cases. I study courts. I study courts. I study criminal justice. One thing that you learn, guys. One thing that you learn is when you study crime and crime cases, especially when it comes down to black men and what have you, is that many cases do not make it to trial. They don't go to trial. Most cases don't go to trial. What happens typically is that you have guys who they take plea deals. That's what happens typically. They take plea deals. That's one thing that happens. The other thing that happens is that when guys go to trial like this, when they actually go to trial, it is not often that defendants take the stand. It is not often. It is always, and I have my legal experts up in here, and I think I'm going to drop the link real soon. I got my legal experts up in here. What happens is that a lot of times when you have guys in situations like this, they are often informed by their attorneys, the defense attorneys, to not take the stand, to not defend themselves, to not get on that stand and put yourself under the rigors of cross-examination. Do not do that. But Travis Rudolph, and this is the beautiful thing about this case. This is the beautiful thing about this case. This man defended himself. This man stood up for himself. This man took that bold step and got on that stand. He got on the stand. He stood up for himself. This is the big thing that I need to get. If you don't get anything from this stream, brothers, this black man stood up for himself. This black man took that doggone stand. He sat in that chair and he told that story. He gave the entire jury and the courtroom and the judge, the prosecutor, and his defense attorney, he gave them the entire sequence of events. He told them what happened. And most importantly, he said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This man told the court, he told the world that he had no regrets whatsoever regarding what he did. And that had he been in the position to repeat that situation, he would have done the same thing. He would have done the same thing. He saw himself defending himself. I was defending myself. I was defending my house. I was defending my brother. I was defending my mother. I was defending my property. I stood my ground. I have no regrets. I did what I felt was necessary to do. I stood my ground. That's what he did. Keisha, he stood his ground. Mess around and find out. Mess around and find out. And the jury believed him. They believed him. And the world believed him. He had no reason to lie. He had no reason to distort any of those events. He talked about, he was honest about his situation with Keisha. He told the world how much he tried to protect Keisha. He told the world the extent to which he tried to avoid any conflict with Keisha when Keisha went crazy, when she went ballistic, when she went into his phone, when she was invasive, when she was hitting on him, when she engaged in all sorts of violence towards him. Oh my God, the level of violence that was enacted towards him vis-a-vis Keisha was just off the chain. It was off the charts. And you're doggone right, Coach Lamont. Keisha, something wrong with Keisha. There's something wrong with Keisha. He said something was wrong with Keisha. Something wrong with Keisha. So I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm watching his testimony, and he was explaining what was happening between he and Keisha. And Keisha saw the other woman. She went into his phone, and this is what blew my mind, man. She went into his phone, and she saw this other woman, and she had the audacity. She had the audacity to FaceTime. She had the audacity to FaceTime the woman whom she saw in his phone. She had the audacity to FaceTime her, confront her in front of him, and to confront him in front of her, and to grill him like she was some prosecutor. The audacity. The audacity. But here's what's funny. Here's the most funny thing. I want y'all to go back. I need y'all to go back and look at the testimony. I want y'all to go back. This is so funny. He was so calm and composed. He was so calm. Hey, he was so calm and composed. I need y'all to go back to the testimony. Y'all hit the thing. Cash App, $ BMI 3000. Cash App, $ BMI 3000. He said Keisha went crazy. Keisha lost her mind. Y'all get this now. Keisha lost her mind. He told Keisha was trying to get at him for talking to this girl, this woman. He told Keisha that this woman was fit, feminine, and friendly. He didn't say this in so many words. He told Keisha that that the girl that he was talking to, the woman that he was talking to, looked better than Keisha. He told Keisha that. He told Keisha that. He told her in so many words. He told Keisha in so many words that she was fat and that she was overweight. And he told Keisha when he compared Keisha to the other woman who he was talking to, and he did this directly to Keisha, Keisha lost her mind. She went crazy. And he said that she went crazy. Keisha went crazy. Keisha lost her mind. Travis told Keisha that she couldn't compete with this other woman. Travis told Keisha that this other woman looked better than Keisha, that she was finer than Keisha, that she had greater fitness than Keisha. And Keisha lost her mind. Man, Keisha lost her mind. She lost her mind, y'all. This is a this case is a case study in Keisha psychology. This is a major case study in Keisha psychology. But we're here to celebrate. This is a celebration of Travis Rudolph. We are celebrating because this is a rare moment. He said, "Black men, let me tell y'all something, man. Black men don't get victories like this every day, guys. I want y'all to hear me, man. Black men don't get victories like this every day. They don't. He said there are lots of black men who are in prison. There are black men who are in the grave because of situations like this. They're in the grave. And these black men never had the opportunity. They either did not have the opportunity to defend themselves, or they were so overwhelmed by the law and by the charges that were leveled against them that they were doggone powerless against the law. They were powerless against the law. They're in the grave. They're in prison because they were powerless. But this man fought this case. He fought it. He fought it. And it was displayed for the entire world to see. And this right here is a win. This is a win. This is a victory. This is a major, major, major victory. A man lost his life in the process. He signed up for it. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. A man signed up to lose his life. He signed up for it. A man signed up. He did not question Keisha. He did not interrogate Keisha. He took Keisha at her word, face value, and that man is no longer here. That man cannot come back. That man lost his life. He lost his life defending Keisha. Man, I'm excited about this. I am excited about this. This is the after party. We are in celebration mode. We are in celebration. We are celebrating the victory of Travis Davis. This man's life is never going to be the same. Let me tell you something. This black man, he ain't going to be the same. This black man is never going to be the same after this situation. His life has been transformed forever. Thank you, Venture Group. Thank you, Venture Group. Thank you for sending that cash app. We appreciate you. We appreciate the cash app from Venture Group. Cash app, $ BMI 3000. Cash app, $ 3000. This is the Man Professor broadcast, and we are in party mode. We are in celebration mode. Not guilty is the verdict. Not guilty is the verdict. This is a black man who is free. He can go back into his life. He can go up back and pick up the pieces and everything and move forward. I am so glad. This man does not deserve to be in jail. He doesn't deserve to be in prison. He didn't deserve any of the stuff that he is dealing with. This man is completely scot-free. And I pray that he is able to overcome this traumatic situation. This has introduced him to the red pill. This situation. This is a red pill situation. This wakes you up. This wake. If a case like this don't wake you up, I don't know what will. I have no clue what will wake you up. But the point is, brothers and black men, you need to stand your ground. You need to stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to stand. This is 2023, and the black man in America needs to stand up for himself in the face of unjust circumstances. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to speak for yourself. This is black men's. You talk about black men's agency, black men's empowerment, black men's everything. He took this case to trial. He took it to trial and stood up for himself. And he got on that stand and he spoke for himself on that stand. And that man was honest. He made some mistakes with this woman. It's obvious. It's obvious that he made some mistakes in dealing with this individual who was violent. Just a violent individual, basically. No respect for boundaries. No respect for your humanity as a person. Utterly disrespectful. And this is the type of stuff that we deal with, and it can happen to anybody. And that's the main thing. What happened to this man can happen to anybody in America. Any black man. This can happen to any black man. That's why I celebrate this type of situation. It can happen to me. It can happen to anybody. This is not. This can happen to anybody. But we are celebrating tonight. This is a celebration tonight. It's too doggone thing. Man, you know what? I'm not gonna waste any time tonight. I want to hear what the brothers got to say. I want to hear what y'all got to say, man. I want to hear what y'all got to say. Keisha is embarrassed for life. She ain't gonna be able to get over this. And I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for Keisha. This is a catch-20. This is a catch-22 for her. It's catch-22. What do I mean by that? That is, had he been found guilty, the whole world would have looked upon her negatively. Now that he's found not guilty, the whole world still looks negatively upon her. She's a pariah. She has to wear a scarlet letter. She gonna have to doggone change her name. She better hope people forget about this case. Keisha better hope that people forget about this case because she gonna have to wear this scarlet letter. This is a scarlet letter she gonna have to wear. This is an L that she got to take. His lawyer did a great job. Travis Rudolph's lawyer did an exceptional job in defending this man, closing the case, and all of that. This is a textbook case. It's going to be studied. This is going to be studied in law school for law schools for a very, very long time. And I hope that this is the kind of case that brings about some changes in terms of law. And I hope that this case, the people who deal with this case, the law professors and what have you, I hope that they really talk about the biases that were against this man. There were real biases against this man, because his life could have been completely destroyed by this situation, completely, thoroughly destroyed. This is a man who could, he fought for his life. He fought for his life. This was a gamble. He gambled with the prospect of spending a long time in the penitentiary, a very, very long time. His freedom was at stake. This is about freedom, guys. It's about freedom. His freedom was at stake. Man, this is the after party, man. I'm dropping the link. The link is in the chat. I got the link in the chat. I got the link in the chat. You guys want to sound off? We got the link in the chat. This is the after party. This is the after party. I need to be able to see some of y'all. I'm going to bring some of the brothers up. This is the after party, man. What's going on?
How you doing, brother?
Brian, man, good to see you, man. Good to see you, man. What's going on?
Good to see you, man. I'm so happy that Travis got off on this, and I'm actually happy and I'm disappointed that Ku Klux Klan can't be charged, because if it had been a black man that had done exactly what she did, they would be getting conspiracy charges.
There you go.
You know, and I think this case will teach black men they need to have the discipline. They need to stop messing with these women.
There you go.
And look, I've been traveling since the 90s. I'm 60. These brothers need to get their passports.
Get them passports.
And get out, man. There's women out there in the world that won't put you through this.
That's it. That's it.
They won't put you through this. And even if you decide to get married, there's countries where you can get married where there is no fault divorce, where you can't get married to a man and after 3 years divorce him and take all his stuff.
If I'm gonna tell you, man, if this is not an avatar and poster child for Passport Bros, I don't know what is. If this case in of itself is not enough to tell brothers, y'all need to look to foreign lands. Y'all need to do what you need to do to get up out of here and what have you, because this is indicative of the situation that we are in right now in America in 2020, 2023. And we've been dealing with this for a very, very, very long time, man. Very long time.
Yeah, this country has turned our own women into our enemy, our arch enemy. You can't, and you know, people always say, well, not all, but it's so many that how do you figure out which ones are and aren't? Because none of them are until they are.
And see, think about it. It's so deep because we're not talking about, you know, you're older than me. I'm getting ready to hit 50. Travis is not even 30 years old. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? This woman, she's not even 30 years old. We're talking about people in the prime. These are young blacks. Everybody involved. Everybody, even the simps, the young guy the guy who lost his life, and the other guys who were the co-conspirators. These are people in the prime of their lives, man. And it shows you how deep this gynocentric thing is. You know what I mean? And how uh, influenced, especially men are, and how men allow themselves to allow these Keishas to put batteries in their backs, you know what I mean, and jeopardize their lives.
Right. And you know, the thing about it is that they went over there
Mm-hmm.
with all that bass in their voice about what they was gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And then after it was all said and done, and they was down there getting interviewed by the police, I ain't hear no bass coming out of none of their voice. It was all treble.
Isn't there something?
Yeah.
Isn't there something? Isn't there something? I mean, when you listen to the testimonies of those, you know, those guys and stuff like that, it's like y'all you you guys really wasn't ready for what you encountered. They wasn't ready. They wasn't ready. They thought, and again I said this, they thought they was going over this guy, you know, clean cut football player, never got in trouble and what have you. And they thought that they were just gonna go over there and rough him up and everything like that, and that it would not escalate into what, you know, eventually happened. You know what I mean? When he came out with that AR in the drum and let them know, you know what I'm saying? You mess around and find out. You mess around and find out. They thought they were. It's like guys. They think they tough guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they went over there with a pea shooter. And
he came out there with the chopper.
And you know, I love the interview after the whole thing was done. The lady said, "Well, if would you have done anything different now that you know?" And he was like, "No, I would have done the exact same thing."
Same thing. He was completely honest and raw, and that's what I loved about it. He was raw. He was honest. He was honest, and I think, and that's what the jury. That's what the jury heard. It was the honesty, and I think that the jury understood that if they were in the same situation, they would have acted in the same way. You know what I mean? You know, they had access to what he had access to and what have you, and felt threatened and everything like that. They put themselves in his shoes, and said, you know what? That was it. But the other part of it was that they brought that stuff to him.
Yes,
They brought it to him.
and they went over there with what 4 guns,
4 guns
and they said we went over there to talk.
to talk.
The jury knew they were lying,
They knew that.
and it was so obvious that Tatiana was up there lying on the stand.
Oh my God.
And she was arrogant. She was arrogant.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Chaos Rain, what's going on, man? Good to see you, my brother.
What's good? What's
How
good,
you
Dr.
want to add to the
Ronil? How you doing,
conversation,
brother?
man?
On the top. Brother, this is actually a good day. I've been following this case for some time now. I wish I watched from the beginning, but I'm watching many other content creators cover this. It made me tempted to cover it, but I was saying, let me sit back and see what will be the final results before I do a real actual recap. And to be honest with you, from what I'm hearing from a few content creators, they had a feeling that this man might do time in jail for manslaughter. And I'm thinking, way how the case was structured and how it was laid out, if they still throw the book at Travis, you know definitely that they were getting at this black man for him defending not only his brother but his own territory. It's the point where it said, "Well, you chasing out with a gun." Listen. If this bitch calls someone to come handle you, it's not gonna be some nice little thing where we're gonna talk and then try to sort things out. It's gonna get violent, bloody. All men knows this. People don't understand. The last resort is usually if we can't talk it as men, we're gonna fist it out, and someone's gonna get messed up. And if done really correctly, we might come out in this 6 feet under.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been known. I mean, hearing this in space constantly that black women will use either the police
Mm-hmm.
or they'll use some of these fucking simps
Mm-hmm.
to come in and deal with you for the possibility of sex. I saw of this dude, I don't know if he's white or wherever he is, and I guess it's a friend say, hold on, dude, is this woman giving you pussy?
Mhm.
Why are you up here defending honor of a fucking bitch that really caused this in the first place? She talked about said, and here's the funny thing. Did y'all notice when the lawyer asked her a few questions, said, do you get scarred? Do you get bruised? I said, no. So that means you can't go to police say that you got messed up because there is no evidence of you got any domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And domestic violence was the reason why you went out and told your brother and your simp friend to go shoot up the place.
Mm-hmm.
What that tells you? That tells me you saw something you like. He shook you because you got violent, because you the one that started the violence, and we could not. And listen to me, good brothers. You're not gonna see no fucking female content creators cover this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course not.
And the reason why not cover is because this man won, and they're gonna take her side all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this wall of goddamn silence, you're digging your own grave, ladies, with this. This should be something that should be checked, should be talked about immediately. I saw her, and I look at her as young as she is. What the fuck you doing with a goddamn BBL? I did a show on this on one particular young mixed woman. She's a sister, but she mixed. She lost her life getting a BBL. They call it Mamba, but no, we all know what it is. You get your whole body done, including your backside. And I saw her pictures. There's nothing wrong with this chick. The one Jackie O. Even the boy said this guy probably wasn't married. The point is this, that you ladies are killing yourself to get a so-called unnatural sculpted figure for men to just to screw you and keep it pushing. This chick got self-esteem issues. That's why when he said that to her, she felt away. That's why she looked at the guy's phone to see who else he talked to. And once she saw those women, and here's the worst thing about this, that I can see why women don't talk about this. Bitch, you're married.
Exactly.
You're still married. So that means you're not only loyal, but you're seeking some other phallus that has a bigger wallet. And because you try to play your cards right, you lost, bitch. So now what you had to do? I can't let you walk out of this unscathed. I'm going to destroy you. She started this. I don't care what any man or woman will say. You started this, baby. They hassle you to ask you the certain questions. You tiptoe around it, even to the point where you try to put the word out for your tech. And I'm gonna say this to a lot of black people. This is my thing. Black people, men and women, they're going to have to start cutting back on the texting. And here, listen why. You're leaving a greater paper trail when you do this antisocial bullshit. I was never a proponent of texting. If I can't talk to you directly, I should not be texting you for every conversation. And here's a good proof. When she deleted it, but she didn't have her friend or her brother delete it because they need an actual paper trail. It said, no, I didn't cause this. They said they're going to commit. So something happens, it's back on them, not on me. Because think about this. They check out and say, wait, why are you looking up laws about staying ground? Awesome. Because she was wondering if this is going to come back to her. And it should come back to her. Because you caused this problem. But most people that when they commit a crime like what she's done, that is considered conspiring. That's conspiracy. People get in jail, locked up, doing time for conspiracy. People forgot that. But because we live in America and they're going to be lenient to women than men, if you're a man and you did, you'll be conspired, they will lock it. Because I tell people many times, men are the prize when it comes to jail. And the one that's top of the list, the biggest target is the black man. We're not going to play around with this. We all know there's more non-blacks than us, but when they target a certain group of men, they look for a black man for any case. That's why when the police come to your place, they always got to see, where's the man at? Because they're not focused on you, bitch. Don't give me that bullshit. This is a good win. I don't give a fuck what anybody say.
It is. It is. It is. And let
And
me say this.
oh, sorry.
Let me say this. So, in to speak what you're saying, so you guys, I think chaos is right in terms of etiquette. When y'all are texting and going back and forth, guys, especially in the United States, you guys need to really be serious about how you're communicating with these people
All levels,
um, at every level. You know what I'm saying? And even you guys who are on dating apps and all this kind of stuff
especially
and
that
everything.
Dr. Ronell.
Yeah, you guys who are on dating apps and you're dealing with, in direct, DMs and all this kind of stuff. You guys need to be very, very careful about how you all engage and how you communicate to these individuals. You know what I'm saying? And chaos is right. The best thing to do. And I'm gonna say that this is just. I'm not a game guy, but I'm old enough to know what life was like before dating apps and texting and all that kind of stuff, when we had to actually go out and interact with women. You know what I'm saying? And you have young guys who are coming along. All they know is technology, and technology can be your downfall. You know what I mean? And so you need to be careful about how you go on back and forth with these people and everything. Fortunately, it worked to her disadvantage because the state, through forensic investigations, were able to go back and retrieve cell phone records and all that kind of stuff, and saw what she did and what she said. They even went back and saw her Google activity. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah,
guys need to be smart when it comes down to all that stuff. So let me say this. So ghetto user, thank you, ghetto user, for that super chat, man. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for supporting the scholar. Praise the Lord. Travis got off. When will women be held accountable? That is the endless question. When will there be accountability? And as Chaos said, had it been a man in her situation commissioning a hit, he
conspiracy.
would be charged with commit conspiracy. He would be charged with that. Okay, if you think about something like Rico, when you have a mastermind who employs other human beings to engage in criminal activity, that person is typically charged with a crime. Okay, and then she wasn't got hit with it. We got Afro Nerd in the house. What's going on, Afro Nerd, man? Talk to us, man. What do you want to say about this situation?
All righty, Doc. Good evening to you and the gentleman.
Good evening.
I'll say a couple of things. I'll try my best to be brief. So I knew a bit about this case, just from a few years ago. I heard about it, and right from the onset, I said to myself, "Okay, this has got to be a win. Like logic has to win out, because when you hear that he was essentially being
Uh-huh.
jumped on, that this was an obvious thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think it would have to get to this level in litigation for him to be acquitted. That a trial had to occur. I thought this was pretty much a straight up thing. So what I think is important,
Mm-hmm.
really, is just how many of these kind of cases
Mm-hmm.
are occurring nationwide. And,
Nationwide.
and I will say this as far as black male specific.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I can't speak for other men. Maybe Latino men might have a similar situation. I can't speak for white men.
Mm-hmm.
But there seems to be this whole ordeal of black men consistently being put in a position of being used by women to be sicked on.
Mm-hmm.
The sicking of black men on other men is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've called a number of female platforms on Sirius XM, and I mean, just terrestrial radio and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go into the topic of black women specifically sicking other men, their paramours, their boyfriends, husbands, whatever, boyfriends, on
Mm-hmm.
other men, and usually that male gets the short end of the stick,
Mm-hmm.
she's able to walk away like nothing happened. They're listening to me like I'm speaking a different language. They don't think that this is a thing. I mean, there have been a litany of cases, and it doesn't. Matter of fact, it goes beyond just the relations between men and women. It goes with mothers and sons. There's a case, you may be familiar with this. it was more local. I'm a New York person, but there was a case where a mother. I mean, it sounds crazy.
I remember that case.
You
I
know
know
what? You know where I'm going?
at
McDonald's.
the McDonald's, yeah.
McDonald's, yeah.
There was a Brooklyn McDonald's.
I remember that.
A woman, obviously, she didn't hear of an invention called the microwave, but I digress. She was complaining about cold fries, got into it with the McDonald's staff, specifically a young male, probably around the same age as her son. Her son already had a body on him. We find that out later. But nevertheless, because of cold fries, she sicks her son on the McDonald's worker. And then he ends up getting killed. Matter of fact, I think his girlfriend passed him the gun. So, I mean, that's just one. There's another case in New York with a bodega owner where one woman was trying to get potato chips on credit. I mean, this is, people are living some desperate lives.
Desperate.
And again, this bodega owner told him, I can't do that. She doesn't want to take no. So she sicks her boyfriend on this Latin store owner, and he's an older man, and he had to do what he had to do, and he ended up knifing this guy in the neck, and he kills him, and this woman kind of just walks away. I could name a number of cases where even if it's not your life, heck, I hate to go into this, but when you think about the Will Smith affair, that was a woman sicking her husband or giving him cues or making him feel that he had to comport himself in a certain way. And he attacks another personality of note, another wealthy person on the global stage, gentlemen.
Global stage.
And when you hear, I know I hate to revisit this, but we have to get into the mentality that's out there. When you hear some of the cheerleaders that approved of his behavior and approved that the slight that Pickett thought that she had sustained was so big that black night, it was a black night of excellence. It wasn't just Will Smith. See, I'm mentioning this because it's death of a career, it's death in a literal sense. But when you have a cadre of women, well, I hate to say black women specific because
it was, man. You have to say it. It was
because many white women didn't see because of hair follicles, right? That the Williams sisters' father, because it's patriarchy going on, the right kind of patriarchy. I'm using kind of to be literal.
I got you.
Their father was his night, right? You had a Will Packer ran the show. You had Questlove, his Philly homeboy, was getting an Oscar for an impactful documentary about essentially Black Woodstock in '69. I mean, all this stuff. When black folks a few years ago were complaining about the lack of representation, no one thought, like, women just did not want to hear that. Do you think that her feelings equals to the entirety of black excellence? A whole thing fell apart because of nothing. So I mean, I'm glad this young man, and Doc, you mentioned it, he was only, I think, 27 years old, and I just want us black men specifically, we've got to raise our standards, we got to raise our self-esteem. We cannot continue, because I think in my heart, and I would say that, and I'll close out on this. I do believe that there's always been this fear of black male excellence. Once black men get it right, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are going to be fearsome of that. That's what's really, and including our own women.
Of course,
we're going to be more. We're already desirable when we fail. What happens when we win? I'm talking about. So I'm on that ish.
I mean, think about it. I mean, there's the whole story of, she called him broke or whatever because she couldn't get her way with him. You know what I mean? Because it was obvious she couldn't deal with the fact that there was competition. Let's just be honest. She couldn't deal with the fact that this is a young man. He can attract all sorts of women. You know what I mean? And she thought that he was going to be a come up or whatever. and she had all that psychological stuff, all that baggage that was behind everything that she did because we don't know all the details of her marriage or whatever, but she saw him as a lick, as a target, as a come up, and she couldn't get it, she couldn't control him or what have you, and there was a great deal of resentment that was there. So when you're talking about black male excellence, yeah, and that's why you guys, especially you guys who decide, who you young guys in particular who are on the come up, you guys who are disciplined. This is very important. You guys who are disciplined, you guys who are not out here impregnating a bunch of women, you guys who are focused on your careers and paths and your skills and whatever, your vocations, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have people who will be attracted to you, okay, and want to get next to you. But here's the thing, they will also have this built-in kind of resentment towards you, especially if they see that their ability to get a piece of the rock is either limited or non-existent. If they see themselves as simply just a jump off or some short-term situation, that will only just breed more resentment towards you, which means that you will open up to the type of stuff that this woman did towards him. We got electrician 480, man. Thank you for that super chat and that the support and all that. Good to always see you in the house, man. Go ahead, man, and holler at us and weigh in on this situation, my brother.
All right, salute, Dr. Neil, and to live chat. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
Perfectly.
sir. We can hear
All
you.
right, good deal. First of all, I want to say that I'm really glad that black men and black men content creators are talking about this. I'm encouraged by that. Let me just say that first and foremost. Um, I'm glad that the young brother Travis Rudolph got off.
Mhm.
But if we look at the bigger picture of this, Travis Rudolph is never going to come back from this.
Mhm.
I believe, and this is just me, this is what in my thinking, for so long, so many of us as black men have either been dead or
Mm.
in prison for life. I know that that's how it is in the state of Michigan
Yeah,
over women,
yeah.
over women.
Over
Either
women.
there's a woman that gets her family members involved, and either the family member is either going to get killed or he's going to prison for the rest of their lives, and vice versa. If it's a boyfriend and getting into it with the baby daddy or whatever the case may be, it's always been circled. The biggest, I think, one of the biggest violent crimes that a lot of brothers are dealing with are
Mhm.
particularly around women. And I feel in this case, and really who the person who really got off is the young lady that he was dealing with. She got off. I mean, she's gonna be able to live her normal life, no problems, no issues. And this man, if he, I just got this gut wrenching feeling that if he try to go for the NFL, the XFL, or the USFL, I think he may wind up getting turned down every opportunity because of this case. And the thing about it is, and it is great that we celebrate this, but how many black men do we know? How many black men do we know I have been locked up in prison over nonsense like this? And it really, and when you look at it, it just mind boggles. And again, I'm all for us really talking about this. But what my thinking is that this is where we talk about politics, about changing laws that are going to be for us as black men, because nobody cares about us. This brother, if he would have went to prison, everybody would like, oh well, go about your way. And even now, I mean, if it wasn't for and I know probably, like yourself, Dr. Neil, you talking about, I'm hoping that Dr. Johnson talk about that as well too. If he does, I don't know. But the thing about it is that it is time for us to really put our energy and efforts in about getting laws that are changed to for our advantage, not trying to take advantage of people, but to help us. Because I truly believe that that brother didn't have any money for no attorneys and law, and, for lawyers. Oh man, he'd have been sitting in he'd have been sitting in quarantining, ready to go to some prison in Florida. And I am just really, really tired of, you got these sisters out here who play victim. It's okay for them to bust you upside your head with a bottle. It's okay for them to hit you upside the head with a trophy. It's okay for them to talk shit. See, now the thing about it, what I think what really happened was when that girl came on, that other woman, that she snatched his phone out and she FaceTimed her and he was real cool with it. Man, I wouldn't doubt if that. Now, if he said what he said, like, look, she finer than you, and she better than you, and we got better sex than you. Now she probably blacked out, and that's what all happened. But the thing about it is, when you look at it, he shouldn't have been messing with her anyway, because she was still a married woman and had another dude on the side. So it's just a lot of calamity. And to my thing, what young brothers are, don't get caught up with just because she looked good. Yeah, I know you want the sex. We all been there, done that. But my thinking is it really worth it? And it's not. It's not. I'm gonna land my plane, and I'm gonna continue to let you guys talk.
You mind if I chime in on that?
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. Here's the thing. I think we as black men, we are kind of myopic when it comes to, we feel that we got to be with our women. We feel that we got to stay here in this cesspool. And the problem is they're not our women anymore. They used to be, but times have changed. And also a lot of these laws, it's going to be hard to change. There's other places that we can go to in the world where, with, like, for example, take Travis. He's worth $5 million. Wow. Man, do you know in the Philippines how he could live out the rest of his life with that kind of money?
Like a king, probably.
Like with $30,000 a year, you considered a millionaire.
Wow.
So if you worth $5 million, he could set up an online business just so he don't spend all his money and just live humbly and marry a woman if he wants to get married and have a child in a country where they don't have no fault divorce. A woman can't just marry you and stay with you for a couple of years and take all your money. And we think we have to live here because we were born here. When I lived in Argentina for 7 years. Man, I had such a good time over there. And I felt at home. Now, I couldn't get in a lot of people's business because I was American. I had a permanent residency over there. So I stayed out of politics. But, man, I enjoyed myself.
Oh, no.
We don't have to.
I agree with you, brother. I agree because, my ex-wife is Brazilian. We were married for 19 years. I been to Brazil over 15, 16 different times. And I have a goddaughter in Brazil. And the thing is, it's just that women, speaking of South America, they just move differently. They have that respect and honor. Not to say there's not a lot of, they don't do stuff or infidelity. I'm not saying that. I'm not making them out to be perfect angels. However, though, I've never dealt with anything of this type of level of drama, or I've never seen anything, I should say, of this type of level of drama like I see here back in my own homeland. Never seen it before. I've never seen it. It's I think I've always said this. If black men, if the bulk of the majority of black men who are not married and they married other black women from other different various parts of the world, then you would literally have sisters here would be just, they will be so out of pocket with. They wouldn't even know what to do. They wouldn't even know what to do. It would be over. It'll be a holocaust. But see, a lot of that, all of the, and then going back to what you said before, we have been trained since birth to be, let me just say it honestly, and I'm including my own self. We've been trained to be simps
Yeah,
from birth
yeah, yeah.
I
as
want to
black men.
I want to get into that.
And now,
I'm sorry.
hold on. Before you go there, let me just say this. So here's the thing. So what's obvious in this case, he's a young man,
Hmm.
and he made a young man's mistake. And he's a young man who was a victim of his own simp socialization. Because when you listen to the testimony that he made and everything, he gave this woman so much grace, so much grace.
Yes, he
He
did.
talked about loving her and being in love with her, which meant that even when she became violent with him, he was still trying to like negotiate. He was still trying to be peaceful in everything. He let stuff go, and this is the problem that we have, and this is a generational. And what the thing is, this guy is under 30, 27 years old. This is generational conditioning. Okay, and this is why this is such a great case, because what we see here is that you have a lot of young black men who have generationally they have been conditioned to put up with and allow women to violate their boundaries, and they think it's okay, even to the point of being subject to violence,
Yep.
because she was hitting on him. She was
Yes, sir.
hitting him. She was hitting him. She was being verbally abusive, and and he tolerated that. Okay, it's kind of like VGS Ibmore. He been talking about Klingon women, black women being Klingons, and all this kind of stuff like that, and hitting on men. And we've dealt with this generationally. This whole notion that if a woman likes you, and I've dealt with this in my own lifetime, man. I've had to. I'll be honest with you, man. I've dealt with women, who just felt comfortable. They would want to try to hit you and put their hands on you. It doesn't have to be a very aggressive thing, but you can be with them out in public or whatever and stuff like that, and they think it's cool for them to like punch on you and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And
I
and,
mean,
and, and if you don't, here's the thing: if you don't nip that stuff in the bud when it's happening, it can escalate to stuff that
hmm,
you'll never be able to get yourself out of. And,
that's
and,
right.
and what this case demonstrates is that even at the younger levels, man, you and I, all of us, most of us here are, we're fully blown, over 30 black men or whatever, over 35. You know what I mean? But this stuff with the young guys, they're not getting this stuff doesn't work anymore. We
No,
we,
it
we
doesn't.
have to it doesn't for men. And Afro nurse says, return to the masculine frame. He talks about Harry Belafonte and Jim Brown and all that kind of stuff. Harry Belafonte, Jim Brown, for generations, black men have tolerated that. Okay, and for generations, black men have made themselves vulnerable to uh, the type of negative repercussions and consequences that can come for that. But here we are in 2023. This is no longer acceptable. You can't play with people like this. You just can't play with you can't play with people putting their hands on you. You can't play with people being verbally abusive. Once you start seeing that stuff manifest itself, you need to cut these people off. You know what I mean? And this is a young guy who. That's why I said I hope that this is his red, quote unquote, red pill moment. That you can't be playing with people like this. You need to move in a completely different way if you're going to deal with stuff in America. Then there's the option of dealing with other women from other parts of the world and what have you, who have a different code and a different understanding and what have you, who understand boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And so this case is really very instructive in terms of where we are right now, because of the fact that this is a young guy. This is a young guy. Let me tell you something, man. I just saw a case in I live in North Carolina, man, and I've lived in South Carolina. I just saw a case of a young guy, 22 years old. He's in jail right now. He just murdered his girlfriend. A guy in South Carolina murdered his girlfriend. He's 22 years old. His girlfriend had one child from another man. His girlfriend was 18 years old. 18 years old. It's right here on YouTube. This woman was pregnant with her third child. She had one child from him, one child from another guy, pregnant from I guess it was his child, and something happened. He put hands on her before. He went to jail. He got out of jail. She pleaded before the judge and the advocates to get him out of jail. He went back to her. Something happened. He wound up putting a bullet in her head. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a generational problem that we're dealing with. This is a generational problem, and these young black men are not getting the information. They're not getting the tools. They're not getting the equipment to just walk away, leave it alone, to think about their freedom and all that kind of stuff, man. So this is a very real thing that we're dealing with. And this Gen Z, Travis is Gen Z. Okay, I don't care what nobody says. He's Gen Z. And this is indicative of what's happening with the younger generations, man. We haven't solved this. So we as black men have the responsibility, those of us who are older, to guys, listen, you can't move like this no more. You know what I mean? This is a rare case. This is, like you said, there are a bunch of guys in the penitentiary right now, all over the country.
Yes, sir.
They're in the penitentiary due to situations like this, and they did not have the resources to fight it. They didn't have defense attorneys that were confident in them to take this thing to trial. You know what I mean? And their lives have been snatched from them, man. This is about freedom. This is about black men moving different.
I want to mention one other thing. I want to double back on something. The self-esteem thing is major league with black people, and maybe it's gender specific. With black women, you can make an argument that some of the self-esteem issues we see are, with the obesity, with this hair fixation. Now we're seeing tattoos and weird piercings, the bull rings. I mean, dare I say, some of the women that I've seen in recent years are, to me, unmarriageable is one thing, undateable. Okay. Just the tier levels. Like, there's some women that I've never dated a woman that looked or had the attributes that I'm seeing that are being just custom now. So we see that side of it, but I see the other side with our men, black men, young black men specifically, where the self-esteem issues you start to see in a different way. The recent case that came out, it's all over the internet, that's gone viral, with Zion Williamson. With he has a kid on the way, allegedly, and then there's another percolating thing with this
porn star.
Prawns. I'm trying to respect the algorithm.
Yeah, I got it.
The prawn star.
Prawn star, yeah.
Okay, I may be familiar with the work. Okay.
Say prawn. Say prawn. Say prawn.
Okay.
Say prawn.
I said yes. I said prawn star. So I may be familiar with this woman's work, Mariah Mills, and I've been thinking about this for quite some time. If you are a multi-million-dollar man, I think he has a $200 million contract or something like that to 21 or 22. Why does this woman rate to you? I'm not a $200 million man by no stretch of the imagination, but I have a couple of degrees. I have a little bit of an arrogance. I know the doc might feel similarly. If you are highly skilled, if you're highly skilled, if you are a man of means, I'm not talking about wealthy. Just being a black man who's healthy,
Yeah.
who makes a certain salary.
Yeah.
If especially many of us do not have children, we have a lot of things we can mark on our resumes that are highly respected. Set aside someone who's worth millions of dollars. There's got to be a way to convey to some of these men, these young men. We are men. I know about the reptilian thing. Trust me, I know. But at some point, you're going to have to say, look, this woman is just not. She's not up to snuff. But we see repeatedly. This is really across race and ethnicities, because we saw a lot of takedowns with Me Too, with men in power that they couldn't control themselves. Tavis Smiley and a whole bunch of others.
Oh, man.
I mean, I mean, he's kind of coming back. He's got his own radio station, and bless him for that. But this guy was the go-to person, and you see so many men, black and white and other varied ethnicities, where your livelihood, your status, and you're taken down by women that do not rate. And when does it stop?
No. Absolutely. I mean, and I saw the situation with Zion. I mean, I'm like, the story is that he impregnated some woman. He impregnated some woman who already has a child. You know what I mean? Who was out there in the sex industry. You know what I'm saying?
Can I add on to that when you get
the sex industry broadly conceived. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's one thing that's prawn, and then there's the other whatever stuff that they got
amateur and
going
OnlyFans.
Yeah, amateur. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the thing is that you got to look at, again, this is a generational thing. These guys don't get mentoring. They don't get the type of leadership that they need and what have you. And let's be honest, they've grown up around women.
Well, they was raised by single mothers, so
they were raised by women, single mothers.
Let's throw on there. It's interesting you mentioned that. I heard this came out, and I guess she's a porn or entertainer,
or adult entertainer,
adult star. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was another one that was lined that's already 30. One from Guyana. I think her name's wherever.
Oh, in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think her name Myra. Wherever these ladies are. My thing is this, and I think what's his name, LaMelo Ball, gotta be careful too, because he's dealing with one woman that's like in her mid-30s too. That these women that's in the industries, the IGs or those sex business, they know they're not gonna get no quality man that's the same age or older. They already know this. So what's the second best thing? They're gonna get the ones that are still simping, still young at age, very immature. That's why they more gravitate to younger men. It's not because these men are more ambitious. Like I hear one woman I dealt with on our channel, but is that they're easy to be fooled because they don't understand the longer game. It's like this, boy, she's a decade older than you. If we look at most dudes that deal with most women, they're either roughly the same age, they meet them in college, or the dude's a little bit older. You young dudes that have money, you're doing things the reverse. Especially a woman that's well older than you. And no one's saying that you already up and coming and very much already have money well down. So they're thinking, now I'm going to play the even better long game. Just like the one soccer player that puts everything in his mother's name.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people say that was, that could be not true or wherever it is. But still, it lets you know if a woman's older than you, she's playing the long game. And she know that she's going to take even greater advantage because she has the experience. Hell, she's been on the carousel for a good long time. So she definitely experienced. She knows your psychology. They know one thing with these young dudes, only thing they're focused right now is sex. And that's how they get them.
Well, I want to say something quickly. One thing, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. And he you have to give him a lot of grace because he came really from out of nowhere, from obscurity. And he seems, he's not going to be forgotten. But one thing I didn't agree with him was his term high value. I thought it should have been high quality. I think high quality is a better definer, especially for black men. versus height, because he seemed to emphasize a woman's looks a bit too much for me, in the sense that the woman's looks alone are such a high determinant to match with your degrees and wealth. I think that especially now, I think, the classic beauties from 20, 30, 40 years ago, we're not even getting that. We're getting obesity, we're getting fake hair, we're getting talon nails, different attitude, masculine, kind of a masculine edge. You're getting all this stuff, and you see that your career, your life, all this is at risk now. And with multiple, and having dealing with a woman that has multiple children with multiple men, you don't rate. I'm sorry, you don't rate. And I don't understand why some of our brothers are kind of falling in line. And I'm saying, actually, now I'm seeing some young white guys kind of going that route too. I think the woman from one of the Housewives shows, she was older. I mean, it's almost a prototype to what we see with some of the stuff with some of our black people. So some of the stuff is happening cross ethnically, cross racially. But at the end of the day, I don't see the pride that we need to start shutting this stuff down, because we need to start raising our standards. I mean, a lot of that you see that in the manosphere, where when you start to have a standard, that's a problem. Meanwhile, you better be a certain height, you better be making a certain amount of money. I just don't understand what we're just kind of going into this cyclical thing where you're seeing these young men constantly risking it all for women who have all these deficits. Why can't we call them a deficit?
Yeah. Let me say this. Let me just shout out to the Code 42. Black men have to realize our needs, wants, and aspirations, and our autonomy comes first at all times. The standard is the standard. You're absolutely right. Let me just say this, and this is kind of, you guys. I'm not a game guy. I'm not a game guy. But let me tell you this. If you see a man, I don't care who he is, who has high status, as Afro Nerd says, which comes with income and all that kind of stuff, and you see him with a woman who is not a supermodel, and you see him with a woman who is just regular, ordinary, okay? Do not discount that man. That man is a smart man, okay?
Yeah.
Because the point is that there are women, and you're right, Afro Nerd, I completely agree with you. There are women that she's not overweight or what have you. She's not a 10, but she can be a 6, she can be a 5, but she has attributes and qualities that fit your lifestyle. Okay? And this is someone who you can build with. Understand what I'm saying? I got this game years ago when I was I'm going on 50 years old, man. I got this when I was in my early 20s, man. I had men tell me, black men in particular, it's like, you know what I'm saying? You can get you a homely chick who's on your program and who was with you, and you can ride that thing out. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about all of the problems that come with a woman who has an overinflated sense of value based upon her looks. That she might be an 8, she might be a 9, she might be a 10, or what have you. Because the reality is that when you look at Dr. Dre, you look at all these other guys, man. People are, Jason Black was going in on Jeff Bezos last week. You know what I mean, on what he selected and everything like that. And I'm like, here's the thing: Jeff Bezos is with a woman who is like close to him in age, who is not young. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you got a dude, okay. He chose not to get with a younger woman,
a young woman, yeah,
who was fertile age and pretty. And I'm like, there are reasons for that.
Because he didn't want no kids. He don't want to be paying.
The man don't want no kids. And here's the thing: I said, if you are a guy like him, and you are a trillionaire, you understand what I'm saying? And you don't want no kids, and you don't want somebody to take you to the cleaners. You know what I mean? why are you going to invest in somebody who is fertile, who can check out within 5 or 10 years? You know what I'm saying? She
Or
can
even
check
go as
out.
far as waste of time, because
She
usually when a
can,
woman is young and fertile, she really wants to have family. And if your man just, saying, I don't want
yeah,
that.
man. I mean, you can be 57 years old, 56 years old, 60 years old, or whatever. Yeah, and you're single, and she is under the age of 20. Oh, I'm sorry, under the age of 30. Now,
Mhm.
let me correct this. She is under the age of 30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she can spit out a kid, okay? And she can check out in 10 years. Like Russell Simmons. That happened to Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons got with Kamora Lee. Russell Simmons, there was almost a 20-year gap between he and Kamora Lee.
Let me think about it now.
Kamora Lee put
But
in Kamora Lee put in 10 years with Russell Simmons, and she checked out, and she got a big bag as a result of it. You know what I'm saying? And went on to other men. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is that, yeah, I think Afro Note is absolutely right. You don't want to go overboard on looks and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, black men, just men in general, we can go overboard, especially if you are at a certain level, a certain status. You can go overboard on looks and find yourself in a situation that jeopardize everything that you have. So you got to be very, very, you got to be very, very smart.
Well, look what the Ebony K.
you
Williams thing when she came out about the bus driver.
Mhm,
And I was thinking, first of all, New York City bus drivers make 100K plus.
mhm.
Metro drivers aren't like, like, I don't know what she's talking about, but I'm thinking like, wait, you're like 39, you're already in a geriatric pregnancy phase. You're not going to be a housewife. You might not be up to the standards of a bus driver. No one says that. He might, a bus driver might be a 40-year-old bus driver might be maybe with a 25-year-old first year law associate.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you
but
know
no one's responding to this stuff. There's said just kind of blanketly, and there's never really a response. So I think I guess in the case there was one, but the manosphere, we need to start to promote black male media where people can respond to foolishness, because now, some of the female oriented media has had such a long run in being able to put their position out there without a response. So I think we're at the tipping point where we can respond to you when you say something reckless.
you know
I
the one thing that you were saying earlier about, when we were younger, the old school guys would tell us, yeah, get yourself a homely woman and she'll take care of you. But see, and I agree with you because I remember those days. But the problem is social media has poisoned all women's mind. I mean, you got women that are 280 pounds that think that they Victoria's Secret models in their mind. You
Lizzo.
know, yeah, and they treating you exactly the way a 10 would. So
Yeah.
you might as well get a 10 because you're gonna get treated the same way with a 4, with a 3. You
We'll
know,
take it. We'll take it.
yeah, it's like this country and the West has poisoned all of these women's mind, and there's no turning back from it. The laws have been changed so much that it's going to take generations to get them back. Look at
And
what's
that's
happening
what you
when they
happen.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And here's the thing. And that's what happened. This woman, going back to Travis Rudolph, she was one of those women. So she was. You look at her. Everybody see what she looks like. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And she had an overinflated sense of value. Okay, and you cannot understand her overinflated sense of value apart from everything that you're talking about, social media. You know what I'm saying? Because she went crazy. She went crazy when he basically laid it out to her. Listen, this woman in my phone knocks you off. This woman in my phone makes you look like an elephant, a dwarf, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And she went, and the way he, oh my God, y'all got to go back and look at the way he talked about it, the way he described it. She went crazy. She
Yeah.
went crazy once he told her that this woman completely knocked her out of the stratosphere. She lost her mind. She went ballistic. And I believe everything he said. She went ballistic. He basically said you were fat, you were unattractive, and all that kind of stuff. And she lost her mind. And,
It
and,
was
and
on
part,
video.
yeah,
Yeah.
and much of the reason why she lost her mind is because of everything that you're saying right now, because the Lizzo culture and all that kind of stuff. And you saw her testimony. She's sitting up there talking. I mean, like she had nothing to do with this. And I'm like, I'm looking at this chick and I'm saying, when you look at it, I mean, we're just looking at optics now. There's a difference if a 10, if she were a 10 and she was saying all that kind of stuff, the way she was saying it comes off differently from somebody who looked the way that she looked. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Because if she's a 10, I can understand all the narcissism. I can understand if she was at the top of the food chain and all of that narcissism and all of that egoism and indifference towards his life was coming out of her mouth. I can say, okay, this woman, no one has ever told her that she has limitations. But when you look at her optically, it's like,
Really?
this woman really, really, yeah. I'm like, really? I'm like, and I'm looking at him, and his thing, fucking ball, no, he looked better than her. I ain't gonna lie. Fuck that. Y'all
Yeah.
take it. You guys take it. You take it how better
No,
you
no,
want.
no.
Because
We
I'm
know what you
looking at
mean.
him.
We know what you mean.
I'm like,
I know exactly what you mean.
if he's my best friend, right? If he's my best friend and he's showing up at my place and I know who he is, I'm like, dog. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like, dog. What the fuck you doing with her? Why are you entertaining this chick, man? I mean, what? I mean, you was a doggone. You work out and you young. I mean, you can do better than this. Why are you fucking with her? You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm gonna look at it.
Well, look,
You know?
the manosphere, and I hate to keep on using the term, but it is what it is. I appreciate the sense that they're now putting out stuff that we might have put in the back burner and put it up front, like the idea of men having to build themselves up. Like a man has to. I mean, this is maybe cliche, but it's true. You have to build yourself up to get the attention of a woman.
Yeah.
When I started hitting the gym, I got a Corvette. I had a couple of degrees.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I had fresh painted toenails in my passenger seat. It just happened that way. You have to do something. Women just exist. Many women, if you see, now the problem is, back in the day, they were really high quality looking women. I didn't really, you didn't really see all the CGI that's out here now. Now it's CGI. You don't know what you're getting because you got the filters, you got the makeup, you got the hair. So underneath all of that, you don't know what you're getting. But I think we do have to start to address that women's culture, and then there's black women's culture is a sponsored one. That now this ego is being bought and sold.
It is.
With the social media, the apps, the filters. How do you compete with that? And I guess what I would ask the doc is, I want to see black men rise. I want to see black men. Look, I'm a Generation X, in between X and millennial. So when I mentioned Jim Brown, Jim Brown really hurt. I just got a T-shirt today of Jim Brown. Jim Brown, Malcolm X, Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly. Like what I saw, and my father was in the house. I can't relate. I can only imagine with these young men what they're not seeing. There's a video going viral now, gentlemen, of a I don't know how relatively young woman with a newborn, or like I don't know, 2 maybe weeks old, male child, and she's holding the child and in the camera wishing the child were gay. She wants the child.
Oh, I
It's
saw
very.
that.
You saw that, right?
Are you serious?
I'm dead
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah,
She
I,
she was.
I,
Wow.
I saw O'Shea. I didn't want to watch the video because O'Shea Do Jackson. He did a video on this person that you're talking about. I didn't want to watch it because it was like
It's
I
hard.
knew what it was all about, right? You know what I'm saying? And you mentioned Jim Brown. Let me tell you something, man. Jim Brown, he married. He died in damn near 90 years old. He was 87 some years old.
Right.
Let me tell you, Jim Brown married a 20. He got a 22-year-old pregnant when he was in his mid 60s. Okay. That's Jim Brown. Jim Brown was still in his
Out here.
60s.
Yeah.
He was still out here. That's how Jim Brown was. He married a woman that was old, young enough to be his daughter. Okay, old enough, young enough, however you want to put it, to be his daughter, man. And she stayed with him or whatever. You know what I mean? And they had some problems because he messed around and he got lit on her and he wound up going to jail because of that for 6 months. But but the point is that Jim Brown came from a different. I mean, his generation and who he was as an athlete and as a masculine man, alpha male, whatever you want to call it. He was able to cross generations. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And the thing about it is that right now we're in a moment where you got these young guys. I mean, and these women, their minds are so twisted. You know what I'm saying? Where things are just reversed. You know what I mean? And that she's the man, he's the woman, and that kind of thing. And this guy's so bad, as you said. Well, you got these women who are wishing that their sons are gay or
Wishing
whatever. You know
gayness
what
on
I mean?
on a child,
On a
on an
child.
infant.
It's kind of like the white woman. What's her name? The woman from South Africa.
Oh, the actress.
Charlize Theron or whatever.
Yeah.
She around here parading. She got a black male who she's saying is transgendered and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is the kind of damage that we're dealing with. Because these people, you got some, and it's not all women. You have an element in the female population that they hate masculinity. They hate traditional masculinity so much. They hate manly men so much. They hate masculine men so much that if they produce a child who happens to be a male, they would do everything in their power to feminize him and to turn him into a little girl.
Well, look, what we need to be very conscious of, and this is what's disturbing, is that since 1619, black masculinity has always been on the chopping block. You know, into the 60s, you saw black men with signs saying "I am a man."
Yeah.
So I take this as a real thing for me. You know, I still have my father. My mother passed a few years ago, so I'm one of those allegedly rare black men that came from a solid two parent household. But I also was raised around. I can remember my friends, at least maybe 80% of them, also coming from similar situations. When you go into the late 80s and into the 90s is when you start to see that shift. And I'm at the point now where, you know, we're way many generations away from masculine, a black masculine presence. So for me, you know, seeing my fair share of black exploitation films, having black principals, black teachers. I went to an HBCU. I didn't pay attention to it back then, but now I'm looking back at it like, wow, this is why I think the way I think. I cannot relate to what I'm seeing now, where you're seeing young black men in jeopardy. You know, whether they're successful or they're on a cold slab in a morgue. When I see the news reports, Doc, I see nothing but crying black women with no answers. I mean, it's not completely their fault, but it's a problem when you see black young men, their lives are in jeopardy. You know, they're failing, or through circumstances they end up dead, and then all that's left are just black women, kind of, you know. If it's by a police shooting, there's a check to collect on that. I hate to be grisly, but Crump comes in. That, you know, and the young man dies, and the women collect millions of dollars in settlement. So somebody,
We worth more dead than alive.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. And see, and that's the thing, man. So we come from the same. You and I, we come from the same generation. I grew up in a single parent household.
Mhm.
I didn't really encounter my dad until I was like 19 years old. But here's the difference: I encountered masculine men,
about to
even
say that.
though even though I wasn't raised with an authoritarian father in my household or what have you. You know what I'm saying? I had people in my family that were married, or everything. I saw what marriage looked like in different parts of my family, and then there were other people who I encountered in my life where there were marriage and there were men. You know what I mean? And so it's like, um, I grew up encountering that stuff, even though it was not directly in my house. And I was like, and I knew that there was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong. I knew that uh, 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 that there was an order that was supposed to be in place and what have you. And then I have my own masculine instincts and whatever. And here's the thing, because I always say this, because here's the thing. So you got black guys, black boys who are growing up right now. Even if they come up in a single parent household, they got testosterone. You know what I'm saying? They got testosterone and what have you, and uh, they would at some point, if they're raised by a woman, some of them, they're gonna buck against that system. Um, the problem is that they don't have buffers. They don't have older men who are going to be able to shape that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They don't have older men who are going to direct all of that. You got some of them, and then you have the other males who are surrounded by none but women, and they grow up being confused, and they grow up not knowing what they're supposed to do in life and all that kind of stuff. And those guys are lost. I'm just gonna say it. They those. I look at the millennials. Not all the millennials, man, but some of the millennials who grew up in that way. They confused. And even the Gen Zs. You know what I mean? Because as time went on, our generation, the Gen X, we were kind of the last generation to have some semblance. Even the ones who grew up in single parent households, we were the last generation to be exposed to some kind of masculinity. You know what I'm saying? That had some type of structure to it. And what now, these younger people who are coming up, they ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? And either all they have is the biological drives and the impulses that are completely undirected, and they wind up destroying themselves, or they're around a bunch of women who confuse them about who they are. You know what I mean? And so they can become anything. They can fuck around and become transgender and shit like that.
Doc, I'm gonna tell you
And
something.
also they eating foods that are adding a lot of estrogen in their body. There's a lot of foods that they are consuming. Let's take like soybeans. You're not supposed to eat soybeans because they create estrogen in a male's body. With and you got a lot of these males that are effeminate.
I,
They
I
are.
want I want to say something low key that I've been noticing because I listen to all kinds of music, all kinds, jazz and everything. But I was raised on classic hip hop, right? I started noticing, and my friends who also are fans of the music, that when you listen to a 19-year-old Rakim, 19, he sounded like a 40-year-old man,
Of course.
right? Um, Even Prince had a deep speaking voice,
Hmm.
right? When you go down the timeline and you go to the current rappers, the CLE choppers and the Little Waynes and all any of the babies, Prick a Baby, any of the babies, Drake, they all have a high pitched voice where I was always told that, well, you sound just like your dad. When you listen to the Kennedys speak, the Kennedys, the Kennedy political family, all of them have the same. Back to Joseph Kennedy, they all have the same speaking voice like their dad. Okay, I've seen this. I'm starting to observe when men have the tutoring, cross racially, of the patriarch.
Hmm.
This whole thing about down with the patriarchy is frightening. You need a patriarchy. So, but now you literally see, I think, the young men speaking from with their mother's tonality, because that's all that they see. That's
Look
all
at
that they have.
man, look at Young Thug. Look at Young Thug. Young
Oh
Thug
man,
is a
please.
the rapper Young Thug is a
Yeah.
classic example. You know, these kids around here talking about non-binary stuff, right?
Shh.
Nowadays, these Gen
Wow.
Zs. You know what I mean? And this guy, this is a guy who he embodies femininity and masculinity in the most extreme type of ways. You know what I'm saying? And he's a part of that generation. You know what I mean? And I was looking at his life, man. This guy has been in and out of juvenile facilities and stuff like that. And he was exposed. You know, those guys, they go to those juvenile facilities. They exposed to all kind of stuff, man. All all type of same sex stuff. You know what I mean? And um, ain't nothing homophobic here, and I know gay people. I work with them. I'm a scholar. I'm in academia. I've been dealing with them for decades. You know what I'm saying? But when you talk about what he comes out of and being raised around women and being in Atlanta and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? He's kind of a classic example of that. You know what I mean? And so you have on the one hand, you have these kind of traditional masculine tendencies um, that are not necessarily controlled and refined, and on the other hand, you got these emotional feminine tendencies, deeply feminine impulses that are also unharnessed. You know what I mean? And so it's no surprise that he is where he is right now. You know, fighting for his life. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, this is the kind of guy. If he go to prison, and he gonna want to spend a lot of time in prison. Okay, based on the charges that he has leveled against him and everything like that. But he been socialized to go back and forth. It's a bisexual type of thing. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying? And that's how a lot of these guys, these young guys, especially from the poorest aspects of Black America, where women run families and they're running communities and there's nothing but women around. That's how they being socialized. You know what I'm saying? And they never get kind of a masculine code where they're able to be disciplined in ways that are productive and constructive, you know, and so on and so forth. So I get everything that you're saying.
Well, you cannot say now that, because I said 1619, that this energy's kind of always been in the air a little
Yeah.
bit, but it's being refined. I, I'm likening to believe that this is some kind of some kind of conspiracy, well-known conspiracy with the molestation of the black male image. Because now you're seeing that black masculinity has become a reservoir, a dumping ground for all of this experimentation. Now, I like what you said. I'm not trying to be, a phobe, or, I'm not talking about stuff that is occurring naturally, or, look, I'm not going to be able to explain queer culture. I'm not going to be able to explain it. That's probably
Well,
why it's called queer. But what I'm saying, though, is that we're seeing a different kind of energy in the last decade or so. Even Bill Maher spoke about this, that the math is not, it's like a social contagion now. And it seems like the pointing of the black male for this kind of stuff is intentional. And that's where I have a problem with.
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If I may, uh, here's the problem. You take a black man, okay, with that is programmed with an effeminate mind, but has the strength of a man, right? And what winds up happening is it's very dangerous, because you saw in that trial where the woman got mad and she went all the way back, got her tequila bottle, and just starts banging him upside the head with it. Women lose control of themselves and with no accountability, and it's okay. And a lot of these black men are raised to lose control of themselves with no accountability, but with the strength of a man and with the violence of a man. Because men are violent. The thing of it is, when you got a father in the home, if he's a decent father, you understand violence, but you know when to use it and when not to use it. And these men are not getting taught that.
No, they're not getting out. And to go with Afro Nerd was saying, yes, there is. So the thing is, because we have been the most influential group with our lack of resources as a group collectively, and with money and all that kind of stuff, we had, despite all that, the black male has been so influential, especially in American culture, popular culture, sports, entertainment, politics, so on and so forth. You have groups who have looked at us and said, okay, if we can control this black masculinity and we can reshape it in our image, then we can attach all sorts of agendas to it. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like with what's his name, Dwayne Wade and his son, and all the stuff that's going on there. You know what I'm saying? And like you have to say this. Why is it that you don't have a white equivalent? There's not a white equivalent of a Dwayne Wade and his son. There's not a white equivalent. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't see anybody white with a so-called transgender son or whatever being paraded all over the world as the face
The
or
prototype.
the avatar of a particular politics. You know what I'm saying? And you have to look at that, and you look at, I will go back, Jack Johnson. I mean, the boxer, Jack
Oh
Johnson.
man, that's the man.
When you look at Jack Johnson and you look at what white society was trying to do with him, there was a lot of fear that was projected on him. You know what I mean? It's like this. We cannot allow this type of masculinity to become popular and persuasive. You know what I mean? Because Jack, and I was saying about boxing. This is a guy. When you look at his life and you look at his achievements and all that kind of stuff and how he was living on
Fearless.
his own terms, he didn't care what white people thought about him. He didn't care what black people thought about him. There were black people who didn't like him. There were white people who didn't like him, or what have you. And it's like, I'm living life on my own terms. And this country has always fought against that. It has always fought against that kind of traditional masculinity or what have you, that asserts itself. You know what I mean? And it's only been comfortable with a more censored kind of masculinity. So that's why when you get to somebody like a Sidney Poitier, you look at Sidney Poitier, man, and especially in the 1960s or whatever, it was like, okay, we're going to give you black masculinity, but we're going to give you something that's sanitized, and we're going to give you something that is kind of deodorized and fits what we want. You know what I mean? And then when you juxtapose, you talking about Jim Brown. Once you juxtapose a Sidney Poitier with a Jim Brown, you get something else.
But you know
what I
something?
mean?
So you're talking my language. As the quote unquote Afro nerd, I'm into the superhero stuff and sci-fi stuff, but I'm also able to match it with the athleticism. The Jackie Robinsons of that kind of imagery, and we're nowhere in that universe today, and I'm obsessed with it because I have a lot of T-shirts and sweatshirts made up with these people, and I'm just sitting. I cannot relate to what I see now, where you see someone like a Kanye West emoting. You don't have the answers, and the kind of histrionics that he displays on a global stage versus someone like you say, a Jim Brown, or you get Harry was in effect, Harry Belafonte. The fact that you can even have a conversation where you're discussing a Sidney and a Jim Brown existing in the same Sidney, Jim Brown, Harry Belafonte existed in the same time. I don't think people understand that. Matter of fact, you can go to YouTube and see this. This is where you see how this works cross racially. Bill Maher was interviewing Quentin Tarantino, right? And Quentin Tarantino went to this whole thing. Both of them were like fanboys of Jim Brown, and they said as white men
Mm-hmm.
that Jim Brown affected their masculinity
Of course.
because he said, well, in case of Tarantino's mother was kind of out there.
She was out
He
there.
said,
She loved black men.
right, and he was, saying he talked about being a young boy in a household of women, and that she was he her his mother was dating, I guess, an L.A. Ram or something, and I take it was a black person, and he took him to an all black movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
When he took him to the black movie theater, his mind exploded, and he saw Jim Brown on screen, and they made even reference to 100 Rifles, which is one of my favorite films, with the late Raquel Welch.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have question marks when you see how those two got down. I'm just being honest. But those two were talking about how they were affected by Jim Brown's imagery. So if Jim Brown can affect the imagery, the masculinity of white males, what does that mean for black males? And why aren't we allowed to see a person like that today?
And that was the thing. So the thing is that they've never wanted that to affect white males. There's an element. Here's the thing. There's an element within white society, and this is not all white people. There's an element, a very powerful element within white society that was afraid of that. They were afraid of that type of imagery affecting white males. You know what I mean? And so even when you fast forward decades later to hip hop and all that kind of stuff, there were a lot of white women who were afraid of rap, conservative white women, um, because they did not want their sons to to be uninhibited in terms of their masculinity. You know what I'm saying? And to exude certain type of behaviors or what have you. That's why, like with Andrew Tate. I'm gonna fast forward now. We're talking about Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all saw the recent interview that he did with the
Oh yeah.
BBC or
I
whatever.
thought it was beautiful.
Yeah. So the thing is that on a global scale, I mean, Andrew Tate is a masculine guy. He's a man's man. I don't. Let me tell you something. So there are parts. I mean, I don't the the prawn that he's doing and whatever he did with the cam girls and all that kind of stuff. I don't typically get down with that. You know what I mean? But um, he exhibits a kind of masculinity that you have a certain sector of white women, they hate it, and there are a certain sector of white men who hate it because he's a masculine man. You see what I'm saying? So you have white males who are liberal or progressive who have been measured all their lives, and even gay, they've been measured all their lives against this type of masculinity. You know what I'm saying? And even with the gay movement opening up things and giving them the ability to be themselves or what have you, there's still a kind of anxiety that is there. You know what I mean? Because here's the reality. The reality is that quiet as it's kept, there are people who are seduced by that stuff. You know what I'm saying? There are women who are seduced by an Andrew Tate. There are men, quiet as it's kept. They want everything that he has, but they ain't got the gusto. They don't have the tools. They don't have everything what it takes to be like that. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of envy and a lot of resentment that exists inside of the white population when it comes down to that type of popularity. And unfortunately, it's that part of the white population that has a lot of influence on educational institutions. They have a lot of influence on legal structures. They have a lot of influences on the economy and everything like that. And they fight against it and they resist it. it first began with us, black men. To my Jim Brown, but there was a years ago there was a gay white dude wrote a book about Jim Brown. I didn't buy it, I saw it in the bookstores, and it was basically this gay white man. Gay white man wrote an entire book on Jim Brown where he was just trashing who Jim Brown was because he just saw him as a misogynist
Yeah.
and so-called homophobe and
Well,
all that kind of stuff. And when you look at that kind of stuff, really what you have is you have men who have deep, deep, deep insecurities about who they are. And here's what they do. They project all of their insecurities on black men.
well, look at the Manning Marable book
Mhm.
with Malcolm X. I have yet to read. I can't do it. I'm not going there. I refuse to.
I was going to bring up Malcolm X in this conversation
Yeah.
too, because men of that era, like Malcolm X, I mean, they had to get rid of him. They couldn't deal with him.
Well, they will do. It's the character assassination thing, and it's something. Since a doc had mentioned the BBC Tate interview, something that was mentioned that was very lightly mentioned, but I wish they would have went into more. And he kind of responded to it with this thing. She was talking about the notion that Tate is radicalizing young boys. Like she used the term, and I read articles about from the BBC, the UK media, going there that his teachings are negatively affecting young boys and men at large, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, is that really true? What kind of radicalization you're talking about? Because what he's saying is, look, you need to maintain masculine frame. You need to work out. You need to build yourself up. You need to do certain things to make yourself a desirable man. You need to, and these things will make your life better. Now, there's other things on the ancillary that might be questionable about, like Doctor had said. But for the most part, 75% of his message is not controversial. It just isn't. However, he had said, well, they didn't tackle it deep enough, but he said, well, if you're saying I'm radicalizing people, what about this hip hop thing? So hip hop has been around for 40 plus years, and there's more of a tangible thing between behaviors and culture that's connected to hip hop. But it's happening to black folks. We know that Tate is also a black extraction, but we're talking about black culture at large. It's very harmful to black self-esteem, and we can quantify this stuff. But it's a stretch, and they got to shut him down for radicalization, but hip hop continues. Explain that. And he touched on that lightly, but she didn't want to go that deep into it.
No, she want to go into it because the fact is that they have resisted. Hip hop has been able to, and the problem with hip hop is that it never went beyond. We had a moment in our generation where it dealt with politics and big things. You know what I'm saying? And right now it's been relegated to streets. And so the effects of it, the consequences of it really only are basically confined to the streets. So it's really kind of, self-destruction of black men.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
When we were younger, hip hop around the time when Tupac and all of those guys came up, and Eazy-E, when Eazy-E was in the game, they were talking about the police brutality, and they wanted to rename that and call it gangster rap, but they were talking about what was happening in the streets. They were more like troubadours, if you will, right? And when Eazy-E was invited to the White House, and that was during the thing when Tipper Gore was trying to get these labels put onto the DVDs and whatnot, he was invited to the White House. Isn't it funny how he came back from the White House and he had HIV, and he also the music changed after that meeting with the president.
Well,
Yeah, because the thing about it is that hip hop. Here's the thing. One thing to think about it, man. When you think about countries, you think about South America, and you think about Colombia, and all the stories that what we know about Colombia and Escobar and all these people in Central America, Noriega, and all this kind of stuff. Here's the thing, man. Um, you had a group of males who were engaging in this underground economy that were challenging governments. The reason why, here's the thing, the reason why there was so much vitriol against the war, against drugs and drugs trafficking is because these drug traffickers were threatening governments. They were threatening the power of governments. They were usurping the power of constitutions and everything like that. And so, like when you look at Colombia and you look at the corruption that is there, so it's like, what kind of society? And this is a real concern now. What kind of society can you have if drug money um, usurps what's going on in Parliament, what's going on in your larger society? You know what I mean? If the people who truly control the society are the drug dealers and not the so-called respectable people, you know, people with the law degrees and the professions and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That was the major threat. They did not want the war on drugs. Was a large part of that. You don't want illegal money to seemingly overcome legal money. You know what I mean? And the illegal money was being driven by these raw alpha males. Let's just put it out there. These just raw males um, who had no filter and what have you. And I'm not gonna lie, those guys were tyrannical. They were violent. They had no filter and everything like that. And they do, at a certain level, those guys they do present a danger to a society. But the bigger issue is that you know you have forces within our society and other Western societies that feel the need to tamp down on the prospect of let's just say an Andrew Tate, the prospect of a group of men, and he said this, he's right, a group of men becoming prominent, becoming leaders and decision makers who can shape the very course of a society. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You know what I mean? And so you have liberal bourgeois males who are afraid of them. You have liberal bourgeois feminist women who are afraid of them. And they're going to do everything within their power, you know, to shut them down. You know what I mean? And that's why we're in this space right now. We're fortunate to have this voice. You know what I mean? But the reality to many people across the world and in America, we present we represent that kind of untamed masculine voice that has always existed in every society. You know that you know governments have felt the need to tamp down, to tame, to censor, to imprison, to even kill. That's just a real thing.
Mm.
But that's a real thing that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? And so um, you know, with this situation going back to Travis Rudolph, you know, he doesn't represent that type of danger, but he does represent the manner in which the state tries to censor men, black men in particular, by any means necessary. You know what I mean? And so, like I said this as I started this video, um, the prosecutor engaged in overreach. He should not have been charged the way that he was charged. He should not have uh, gone to the point where he had to do he had to go engage a trial and everything like that. The the judge threw out a stand your ground defense and all of that. And you can't look at that without considering the racial component and the history. Because, like I said, had he been a white man, had it been a white man in that scenario, he wouldn't have. I don't believe, and I don't have proof of it because we don't really know. I'm just thinking hypothetically. Had he been a white man, he would not have had to endure what he endured over the past, 2 years in that situation. It would have been a clear cut case of self defense. Somebody came to his house to attempt to harm him. He sought to defend himself, and he was justified. If he was a white man, he was justified in defending himself, and we would not be having this conversation. But fortunately, the jury, um, and that's the thing about juries, a jury can decide. Once that judge gives them their ballot in those directions, you can choose guilty or not guilty. You know what I mean? And they don't have to consider um, a stand your ground defense or whatever. They can go just based on testimony and what they've heard and the facts of the case. And hell, I'll even go so far as to say they can just come to the conclusion, just based on common sense, that this man was innocent. He did not commit any crimes, even though he shot off 39 shots for that AR-15 and what have you. Um, he did not do anything wrong. You know what I mean? And the jury came to that decision, and this is a victory.
And the pro-
This is a rare victory for one black man. This is a rare victory for for black men as a collective.
and Ku Klux Klisha and her crew should not have gotten immunity from prosecution. I don't know I don't know what kind of deal was made, but it would be even sweeter victory if he came back with charges against her and the brother.
Yeah,
Well,
and now,
Dr. Johnson goes into this a bit
You
with
know, you know,
the legal element that we need to start making grounds on, especially for black men in the courts, even with their children, even with again, if a woman does something and she's equally, with the whole bi-directional nature of violence, that they're gonna have to take the hit every once in a while. Now it can't be where women just walk away when they are the catalyst, when they're in the eye of the storm and they're able to walk away from this stuff. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's happening with so much frequency that now, it's starting to be laying bare. So I hope that as time goes on, you start to see women start to bear the brunt of the whole accountability thing, because it's we've heard cases of men have been lied on with SA, and then that woman has a change of heart 3 or 4 years later when the man's done that much time in prison, where he might have encountered SA in prison, and they say, "Oh, well, it never really happened like that." So, gentlemen, I'm
Well,
going to have to
they're
exit.
bringing repercussions on themselves because look at that lady in Atlanta. She worked at one of those dancing clubs, and I think she's from Ghana or someplace like that. And they rolled up her 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. She was in an Uber, and
Wow.
same thing, 39, 40 shots, and she took half of them, and the Uber driver was not hit. So what that was. That was retaliation.
and that's what I will say this for you, brothers. I'm going to wrap this up, real soon because we've been here for over 2 hours. I need you guys, whatever state that you live in the United States of America, I need you to understand the laws in your state. Understand what's in the state constitutions. The state constitutions, when it comes down to self-defense, state constitutions, when it comes down just basically gun laws. Know what the gun laws are in your state, wherever you are. I live in North Carolina. I know what the gun laws if you're in Alabama or Georgia or Michigan or New York or California, know what the gun laws are. Also, you guys, it's important that you understand the Constitution. If you guys don't have copies, if you guys have not read the Constitution, period, you need to read the United States Constitution. If you haven't read the Constitution, and since you were in grade school or whatever, you need to go get your Constitution. You go to a regular, you go to a bookstore, you go anywhere, you can go onto YouTube, you can Google the Constitution. You need to know what your constitutional rights are, brothers. You need to understand what your rights are, because what happens is that we get we get effed over because we don't know what our rights are in this society. State constitutions, the United States Constitution, know what your rights are, and be able to stand on that. Always remember that even if you're a black man, if you are a tax-paying citizen, you have constitutional rights. Okay, and you need to know what's been written down for you. It's not just for the white males. It's for you. It's not just for everybody else, the white females and everybody else. Those laws apply to you. You can use those laws to your advantage and what have you. So if you don't get anything from me in this conversation or what have you, and other conversations, guys, you need to be um, adept in what the law of the land says. Know what it is. You know, know it. Do you live in a, here's the thing. Do you live in a stand your ground state? You need to know that.
Yeah,
do
I
you
live in
live
Texas, so
do you live in a state where they have the castle doctrine? They have the castle doctrine in Texas.
yeah.
You need to know that type of stuff, because I mean the reality is that this could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody. You know what I mean? And you need to protect yourself, guys. I'm not a I don't do 2A, I don't do Second Amendment stuff on my channel, but you need to know this. You need to know what your Second Amendment rights are. I don't care what anybody's. And every black man should know what their Second Amendment rights are. Every black man in the United States. You need to be an expert on all that kind of stuff.
I'll leave at this
Yeah.
at this point. And Doc, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say a couple of things. Um, I agree with what you just said, but I also think that black men specifically, we need to be a hell of a lot smarter. We have to be smarter. We have to get away from this intellectualization or anti-intellectualism with the culture at large, with black men specifically. That this being dumb as a cool thing, it's not cool.
It's
The
not
whole
cool.
educated lame, with the way we use terms,
Yeah.
educated lame, or he's a nerd. Well, I use the nerd as a as a brand, but that's because I think we need to be promoting that. So it's okay for white males to be quote unquote smart, but for black males, we are put into this buck situation where we're not allowed to be thinking. We should be allowed to be thinking, cognitive individuals. You shouldn't be ashamed to be able to enunciate and to have well thought out ideas. This ignorant thing is not working for us. It's just not. We need to be able to outthink some of these people, outthink the racists, outthink some of these slick women. We have multimillionaires being preyed upon. You could say that in some way with these women that really aren't worth much. That's got to stop because it looks crazy as hell. It's constant. So I'll leave you on that note, gentlemen. But
Thank you.
let's think a little bit. Let's think a little bit smarter.
Good, good. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the broadcast. I'm glad that you are able to contribute to the stream or what have you. This, as I said, this is a celebration. Travis Rudolph, I'm happy for the brother. I hope that he has great success as he goes forward and what have you. And I hope that this situation, this case, is just a learning tool for all black men as we go forward. So, um, I'm getting ready to sign off.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Mr. Private Brain. Thank you, Chaos Rain, for being in the house, man.
Yes, yes.
We're getting ready I'm signing off as it is right here. I am the Mad Professor. You guys take care. Y'all support, share, like, and subscribe. Cash App BMI 3000. I will see you guys on the next time. Peace out, my brothers. Uh, take care. Have a good night and be safe. I'm the Mad Professor.